So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginner. This is video 280 and in this video I want to talk about flowcharts. In my last video I told you that states are very important, but with states there is a problem, and I will talk about states in the next video, I think. And the reason for that is states are very theoretical. They are treated very theoretical, but I want to show you the practical use case, and that's why you should perhaps skip states, but still you can learn it because in future you will probably need it. But more important is in programming perhaps this flowchart. And flowchart, what is a flowchart? Well, first, a flowchart describes how the flow of a program goes. What I mean with that is, for example, you can see here this little diagram. And in this diagram, it says, okay, we have here a start point, then we have here a process, and then we have here this condition where we say if this is true, we go this way or this way, and then we are doing again a process, and then we are finished. And this one is more or less a description how the flow goes, and what this exactly means. I want to show you this here. For example, here is my program, which I try to explain you all the time. This is the sort linked list. And instead of this flowchart, what we use so far is one, we used our brain. Let me show you what I mean with that. This is this picture. I try to explain you when my pointer is, for example, here at first, at second, and then when it's greater, then I would swap, and after I swap, I go to the next point, for example, like that. And all this kind of stuff is very not easy to follow when I try to explain you that. And the problem here is that's actually the problem. It is not easy to follow. It is not easy to analyze. And the next way how you can make this one as well is, for example, you can use here the debug. Here you set a point, the debug, and when you start here, the debug will also, that will not run because I have already activated on the other side the other code, but the debug will then also jump here to this point, and then you can follow the flow of the program. Okay, the debug says, okay, I'm here, I will execute this line, then I will execute this, then here is the if, I check the if statement, depends on the if statement, I will jump to the first true block or to the false block, something like that. And a flowchart, let me go here to our flowchart. Where is that here? And our flowchart here makes our life easier and very easy to explain. So with that said, I want to show you, first of all, I want that you read this flowchart on your own because it's again a theoretical part, and very important, it is not a must that you know it, but it is very, very, very helpful that you know it. Flowchart is probably one of the many diagrams you should know. Compared to other diagrams, let me show you this one. For example, there are here on the bottom many other diagrams, and all these diagrams have the purpose to analyze or explain or document code. And I personally think that flowchart is one of the best because it's easy to make and very useful. I will show you the practical use case in my code actually, and that's why I explain you all this kind of stuff. And I will show you also in my code that with the flowchart I found a bug which I could not see on the first glance, and that's why it's also very helpful to analyze code. But before that, let's go and see how we can create a flow chart. And that's the nice thing about a flow chart. It is very easy to create. I show you this only a little bit because I want that you read the theory on your own. Here on the bottom, we have symbols, right? And actually, we need not all the symbols which are here presented. You need really the first, we need an arrow. These are the flow arrows. You can see this is these arrows here. Then we really need only the first one, which says terminal means more start and end point. It was this start point here and the end point here. These are the start and end point. And then you need this square, this rectangle here, which means process. Process means like you are you are doing something, you're printing out, or you are calculating, you are manipulating data. You can see this here also. So you can see most time manipulating data, which means you are assigning values, you are changing the values, for example, or you're adding values and so on. And the last one, which you really need, is this square, this decision. Decision is all time, like you can see, is a if. Here you ask if, and then you can see this decision has here different ways to go. If can go this way to make another line, to another path, or let's say this is the true path, and then there he can go, or let's say here in this case, the down is here the true path, and the false is here in this diagram, the false path. So different paths, and that's it. Actually, this three you need to learn. And if you know this this four here with the arrow too, this four here, arrow, start, end, process, and decision. That's it, what you really need. And that's why flowcharts are very easy and very fast to create. But you will see in flowchart diagrams, they use, of course, the other symbols here too to make it a little bit more accurate. So when we go down, for example, here, you can see they use here this rectangle, what I said, rectangle, and then they have here an output special, and then they have here another a little bit special. But actually these other specials are, you can learn it because it's a little bit more advanced, but I prefer the simple one. Why the simple one is better than the advanced one, let's say so. The reason for that is when you make a flowchart, your goal is just to document and make it simple to understand. The more symbols you have means you have to know them. But if you know already this four here, you can make something very simple, very fast, and it is accurate. And yeah, like I said, the reason why the four are better is because as it's simpler and it's faster. And I will demonstrate you this in a moment. All right. I think, but still, read the flowchart. You will probably see this one here too, this input output. I don't know if you see the other ones too. Perhaps it's not too difficult. All right, with that said, I would show you here a professional diagram where you can go also to create it. This is, for example, there are millions of online flow diagram places. I just choose randomly one. This is Smartdraw. It's free. You can see it's on a cloud, which means you can test it. If you don't like it, just go to another. There are many things. But interesting is here, you can see I can create this flowcharts. And like I said, you should just choose this symbol, this round thing here, then this diamond thing here, and the rectangle, and then the arrows. That's it to create all the flowcharts. But this tool here has one disadvantage. What is that? This tool here, you have to learn the tool itself, how to draw it. That can take a little bit time. And when you look here on the left side, they have here many symbols here, not just the one which I showed you on Wikipedia. They have even more. And the reason for that is this Smart Draw is also not only drawing a flowchart. They have here different kind of charts, different kind of diagrams actually, which I said there are different kind of diagrams, and you can probably draw here all kind of diagrams. That's why they have here more symbols. But again, really in flowchart, try to learn only this 1, 2, 3, 4. Or even if you want this input output too, if you want, but not so important, because input output here is the same as a process. And the other things, like I said, is just for helping. So you can make it here, but I would prefer as a starter not to do it here at start. And the reason is very simple. This one here, this let's say more professional work, which takes much more time to make, is more for documentation and also for analyze, but also for documentation, which means you can go back to your code, watch this, and you will understand this very fast. So this use case, it's very important, takes more time to make because you have to create now it here in a graphical program and you have to learn this graphical program. But the good thing is, after you made it one time, you can go back and analyze your code very fast, very simple, and explain it very perfect. But what we want to do is at a beginner, this one you can do too if you want, because this one is more if you become a little bit better. But as a beginner, I want to show you how we make this and how we make this for my little program here actually, because I want to show you the practical use case, not the theoretical use case. The theoretical use case you have to read. The practical use case looks more like this. And that looks, of course, oops, a little bit ugly, not very nice. And here I want to show you which are very important. Actually, I made here also a mistake. So let's make this one. This one you need, this one you need, also this one you need, this one you need, this one you need. This one, like I said, they use normally this one for input output, but you don't need this really. And you need also not a connector. Connector means when they are coming together, really. And the one thing what you also need is this arrow. These are the four things you need. And the nice thing about this is, like I said, after you know these four symbols, you can create a flow. Here I created a random flow. You can use here, if you want, even this paint system, what I use. That's why I showed you here this the symbols here, or you can make it with your hand or even with paper. It's faster, but you can use also a program like Paint or any GIMP or anything else what you like. And then you can say, okay, I need a start point, I need a decision maker, and then you can make it so, and you can see how fast this is. And then you can say, after I say true, false, must be not even perfect. You see it's how I write here. It looks ugly, yes, but it is fast, simple, and I can analyze the code instantly. And then I say, I need this, and then I need a process for Hex because here I execute something. And let me show you how this looks like in our program a little bit. And by the way, I made this here because I will show you also that I found with this kind of stuff a bug in my, not a real, it is a bug, but the funny thing is this bug makes not an error, but it's interesting to find something like that. So in my code here, this is my code. Let me show you. This is the original, the finished code here. This is here the sort linked list. It starts here, for example, in my case, here on top, but this one, it's not here the start point. Actually, it starts here with the while loop. And there are some presets. So here it starts with a while loop, my start point. And then let me make this so perhaps. And let's see. No, let's so. And let's make this so. And let's make this a little bit so perhaps. Okay, that was not so good. All right, that's better. So later I want to show you this one. Here I created the whole process of this while loop, and you can see my while loop starts here, and it's almost the whole process. There are some little bit more code, which is just the start conditions. There are some start conditions which would be modeled here on top, but the whole thing here, what you see, this little picture, is the whole process of my loop. And you saw in my explanations of my last video, let me show you this one as well, where I tried to explain, okay, now I do this one, and then the next step is going here to this place. For example, I say, okay, here I compare. After I compare, I will, what will I do? Then I move the pointers here one step, then I compare again, and then I check if this is endpoint and all this kind of stuff. I can explain you now here in a flow the chart a little bit better and find errors which I made. And let me explain you this one here. For example, here, this is my start point. Here is start. And we are not using now this one here. Go here away. And now in my code, the start point is this while loop in my case. Because in my case, it's this while loop here. And of course, you can write now the conditions if you want to make it a little bit more better in it. And of course, here you can use, if you want to make it a real documentation, like I said, you can switch to more a professional tool diagram, make it here, finish it. I have not finished it. I just wanted to show you this one. And then you can, of course, here write all the condition stats and all the things and then copy it out. But like I said, I want to just check this little while loop and see if I made it right, and I found a bug. And I think I will show you this in the next video, because I want that you read this this flowchart first, and then I show you how to use this one in a practical way in my code, and we will find a bug here. But actually we are not finished with my code, which I have here. I have not finished all steps, so we will first step all finish, and then I show you how I found here a bug. And the interesting part is with this flowchart that the interesting part is this bug caused not even an error, but there is a little error in it, but overall the program works, and that was so strange. And I figured it out with this little chart. And this is also a practical use case where you can see interesting. And there is a second use case. When you can make a flowchart like this here, then you can program accordingly to this flowchart. What I mean with that is, here I said this is my start point, right? I could start with a while, okay, here. And then I go here, this square here, this diamond symbol here represents all time a if, more or less. There are different kind of ifs, but most time a if. Here is a if, and then I decide, for example, in my case, that would be the place where I am here. I say the swap first pointer is less than the pointer position second, where I make the compare. I say if it's less, let's make here a less sign here. This is my pointer. That was here, this picture here. Let me show you this one too. A little bit I show you, right? So we have here the first pointer, the second pointer. That's exactly this here. And here I check if this is less, then I will swap. And in my diagram, this if checks this. If this is left, I will make a swap. If not, I will go this way. So one way is true, one way is false. If it's true, and like I said, the symbol here, this rectangle is a process, I make a swap. And if it's not true, I go here to our next place. And how this works in detail, I show you in the next video, because I want that you learn first a little bit the flowchart and read a little bit about the flowchart. And yeah, and I think that's it for this video. And like I said, one more thing, you can see this one you can make really fast. I want to show you this one as well. I think in our normal paint you can see, let's bring here this normal paint, so you can start just with a paint. You can use the paint symbol even, right? Like I said, but you can also just use your hand. You make here just here this, and must be not, this one here must be not beautiful, because this one is just a sketch, right? So to understand your own, here you write true, perhaps here you write false, and you even don't need this arrows. But when you make it, you can make this to indicate, but normally you know it goes all time one way. And then you can say, okay, perhaps I need here a process. This one is another than this. Here I make a process. After this process, perhaps I have a if, And if means all time, it goes here true or false. And perhaps you make here a process that looks not very fun, very nice, but you can see it's very fast. And after this one, you can say, this process make this one, and let's say this one goes to our end condition, and this process make this process here, and this one goes to end condition. And let's say here, this process goes back to our loop, because this one would be our loop. Let's make this one here gets back, and this one could be also our loop, goes back to this one. So, and you can see how fast you can model this one, all the flow what you make. And when you read something like that, you would say, okay, we start here, we check here, we execute, depends on this condition, then we check something, and then we execute on true. We will go execute this and finish. If it's false, we go back and start over again. Very fast, very simple. That was not even 1 minute how I can model our little code here and try to understand it. That's why it's very important that you learn this flowchart, I think. It is very good for visualization. And my last word is, this one is more when you want documented, and when, let's say, after 1 week, I would, or 2 weeks or whatever, I would forget this code because I made other projects. And that's why you use this kind of documentation, that you not all time create it from scratch. You make it a little bit more beautiful, you save it, you watch it, and you know it. All right. So with that said, if you have any questions or any complaints like all time, write it in the comments. And in the next video, I want to talk about flowcharts again, and we will talk about, like I said, the state diagram again. But like I said, state diagrams are a little bit too theoretical, and we need this more in a practical way, because after when you read the states in Wikipedia or other places, they will show you that all this states comes from a mathematical abstraction, and that's why they treat them too theoretical. But in programming, in practical programming, we need a use case more in practical way, and I will try to show you this, how we can make use of this in a practical way, not just with theoretical understanding, really practical use. All right, but in next video I will show you first here this flowchart. That's a little bit more important. So if you have any questions, any comments like all time, write it in the comments. See you in the next video. Like all time, have fun, never give up, and bye.